Hi, this is Mrs. Bishop, and I am your geometry teacher for this first semester of our remote learning. I am doing our very first video lesson of the semester, so I'm a little bit rusty with using my equipment, and it is a Sunday afternoon, so I am actually at my dining room table recording this in preparation for our week of learning. You might hear a little bit of background noise. It's a Sunday afternoon, so I have laundry going, and my buzzer might go off, and all of that good stuff. If someone comes to my front door, my dog is going to bark. So here's where we're at. We are just getting started in our geometry book. This is what the book looks like. Hopefully you've all picked that up from the front office. I am on page 3, and my equipment tends to do this a lot. It zooms in and out, and so we just have to be patient and get through it because this is what I have. So we're going to take a look at our very first lesson. Your books are designed for you to actually be able to write in them, and there will be times where that's exactly what we'll do. Other times we won't quite have enough room in our book, so we'll grab a different piece of paper and we'll move on from there. Let's take a look at section 1-1. This is really just getting us started in understanding our vocabulary and language of geometry. And I'm going to take just a second, and I'm going to zoom and make this a little bit bigger, and we'll go from there. So normally in our class I would be working with the whiteboard or a document camera, and I'd be asking you a ton of questions, but I can't exactly do that in a remote learning video, so I'm just going to go through the stuff. That actually makes it go a little bit quicker, and it allows you to pause me if you need to repeat something that I've done. You just play it back. So hopefully this works really well for you. If it doesn't, let me know. We'll do our very best. If I put out a video and you're like, none of us could see that, it was blurry the whole time, please let me know. I hate it when that happens. So taking a look at problem number 1, we need to decide what that is. This is what we call a point. So a point is an infinitely small kind of dot out there in the universe. And when we name it, we literally would say point Q. And I just realized I didn't silence my phone. I just did that now. Sorry, guys. Taking a look at number 2. Number 2 actually has 3 different points, point F, point G, and point H. And typically when we describe a point, we like to use a capital letter. But number 2 is actually asking us to look at something called a ray. Now a ray has a specific end point, and then it continues on forever in the direction of the arrowhead. And there's a variety of different ways that we can name a ray, but it's going to require the end point and one other point on the ray. So we could name this as ray FG, and then we draw a little ray over the top. Notice how F being the end point, that's kind of where the little end point of the ray is. Or we could name this as ray FH. Again, arrowhead on the top, the end point above the F. I guess if we really wanted to, we could name this as ray HF and go the other way, but for some reason we never draw our arrowheads to the left. We always draw in the right-hand direction. That's just kind of the way that we do it. So let's take a look at number 3. I'll try to keep my book and page as straight as possible. So on number 3, I see 3 different points, point X, point Y, point Z. I see a variety of rays where we could go from X to Z, or Z to X, or Y to Z, or Y to X. But this one is actually asking us to look at it as a line. And there's a few different ways that we can name a line. A line will require 2 points. So I could call this line XY because those 2 points are on the line. And notice how I do a double arrowhead on that. The ray had this single arrowhead because it only goes in one direction. The line goes infinitely in both of the directions. We could name it XZ. We could name it ZY or YZ. We could name it ZX. We could name it, is there anything else? So I've got X, oh yeah, we could name it YX. As long as it's any 2 points, because that line goes both directions, it doesn't matter which point comes first or comes last. Sometimes we also name a line with a lowercase cursive letter, like I could name this line L. That happens from time to time. This guy right here is a line segment. So when we talk about a line segment, it has 2 endpoints, and we use both of those endpoints. So we would name this as segment DE or segment ED. If it had other points on it, we wouldn't use them because we have to use the end points. So we say where the segment starts and stops. Number 5 is an angle. And you'll also notice number 6 is also an angle. An angle consists of 2 rays with a common endpoint. So we can see those arrowheads shooting out. That common endpoint is A. On number 5, we would On number 5, we would name this angle A, because this point right here is what we call our vertex. Over here on number 6, we can actually name this a few different ways. We name this as angle S because S is our vertex, or we could name this angle RST or angle TSR. Now what you'll notice about this is that both of these are going to have the middle point as the vertex, and I'm thinking you probably can't see that, so I'll scoot my book over. The middle point as the vertex, and then 1 point on each ray. So that middle point being the vertex right there, because that's kind of the middle of the angle. That's really important that we can utilize 3 different points to name an angle, because maybe we have angles that are coming together in different locations and we have to write all of that down. And I'll show you an example of that. I want to take a look at number 7. On number 7, it kind of looks like we've just got like a box there. You might remember that's called a parallelogram. So one of the things that in geometry can be a little bit challenging, when we try to do 3-dimensional shapes on a flat 2-dimensional piece of paper, sometimes our drawings just don't quite look right, and I do not draw well. So you're going to get used to that. We have to label things really well in my geometry world. But the other thing that's hard for us to show is when things extend to forever and ever and ever into infinity. And that's what this is trying to show us. This is actually a plane. And so when you think of a plane, I want you to think of it as a flat surface that extends forever. And you have examples of these everywhere. I'm literally sitting in my dining room looking at my kitchen thinking, holy cow, there's a ton of examples of planes. My tabletop, this is my tabletop, this right here is a plane. Because if we were to extend this flat in every possible direction, well, that's a plane. I'm looking at the ceiling, that's a plane. I'm looking at the floor, another plane. Countertop, plane. Stovetop, plane. I can see outside my patio table is a plane. Nice and flat and extends. Now all of those planes I've just described, they're kind of like parallel to the ground. You can have a plane at an angle. Doesn't have to be like that flat tabletop style plane. Well, there's a variety of ways in which we name a plane. Right here, this capital cursive letter, when we put it kind of, there we go. When we put it kind of up in the corner, that implies the plane. We could also use any 3 non-linear points. And you're like, what does non-linear mean? Well, linear means line, non means not. So I wouldn't want to take any 3 points that all lined up, because then you don't know if I'm talking about the plane or I'm talking about a line. So we could say that this is plane JTK or TJK or KTJ or PNK. Good Lord, I'm not going to do them all because holy cow, there's a lot. So I'm just going to go ... I'm going to be a little bit lazy. So if that was a little disorganized for you, well, look what we have on the next page. And I'm going to zoom this back out just a little bit. We have all of these examples beautifully summarized right here on page 4. So I want you to take some time, look at that. That's a nice, handy place for us to be. I want us to walk through some examples so that we understand the language of our book. So number 8 says identify each geometric figure. Well, there's no arrowheads, so it's not a line and it's not a ray. This is a line segment. And hopefully this focuses soon. Maybe if I zoom out. There we go. And so we could name this as segment QP or PQ with the little line segment on the top. Part B. Okay, some of you guys, you trick me from time to time and you think so differently than I do, and I really like that because you make me think differently. But I'm hoping you guys are going to see that this is a line, and we could name this as line NC or line CN. In the past, I've had students say, well, wait a minute, I also see a line segment where they get rid of the arrowheads, but I think this is implying a line. But if you're like, I see the line segment from N to C or C to N, I'd have to give you that. And then I have other students that would say, well, I see 2 rays go in different directions. Awesome. I'm going with a line. I'm hoping we can agree on part C that yes, we see 3 points, but this is trying to show us that we have plane M or plane BGT, and we could do any combination of those 3 letters. BGT, TGB, mix them up, rearrange them, we're good. Hopefully, point D makes sense for option D. I'm going to scoot on over here. Hopefully it will also clear up in just a second if I put my hands there. Sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't. So number 9 says draw segment, or not segment, that guy right there, that's a ray, and explain where points F and E lie on the ray. Well, I'm just going to draw a ray. Because the arrowhead goes in the direction of E, E needs to be closer to the arrowhead, and F is the starting point or the end point. Kind of seems weird that you can call it the same thing. F has to be on the end away from the arrowhead. Number 10, critique the reasoning of others. Caleb says that the figure below can be named KJ as a line. Well, I think so, because we see the double arrowheads. We've got double arrowheads and any 2 points match. Jen says the figure can be named JL. Who's correct? They are both correct. Lines are named using any 2 points on the line in any order. Okay, not bad. So we're going to skip down, and I want to take a look at some more information for angles. And I'm getting ready to turn my page here in just a second. Down here on the bottom, there are a variety of ways we can name this angle. So I'm hoping that we can see that it is denoted as angle 1. Sometimes we'll put a number right there in that vertex of the angle, or we could utilize angle B. Or we could do any combination of 3 points as long as, and you'll notice that middle, oops, I'm a little too far on that guy, that middle point is the vertex, and on either side of the vertex is 1 point from the 2 different sides of the rays. So you'll notice we can't name this angle CBD because we need something from that other ray. And so here are a variety of examples. I'm going to scoot on over, and it will refocus in just a second. I'm now on page 6. Let's practice naming some angles. So all possible names for each angle. Angle 3, because that's the number in the vertex, or angle Y, because that is the vertex. Angle X, Y, Z, so you'll notice that Y is in the middle, X and Z are on each one of the different rays. Or We could go in the other order where we name it angle Z, Y, X. And you'll notice that we always show that little angle symbol. Let's look at B. Well, B has a few more options. Angle SCN works. C is the vertex, has to be in the middle. S has to be there because it's on one of the rays, and then N is on the other. We could flip that and go in the opposite order. We could also utilize point F. Now we need S because it's on the left-hand ray, vertex in the center, and then F, or we could flip that guy. We could not use F, N, and C. They won't work because we need 1 point on each of the 2 rays. So I'm hoping that covers the different pieces of our puzzle. Our assignment is actually going to be down here on page 6, and that will be written in Google Classroom so that you have that information. Your task, and you can use your own paper or you can write in your book, you're going to work through all of these problems. You're going to take a picture, upload it into Google Classroom, and then you're going to share it with me. And then please make sure that you click the turned in or submitted button, because I don't see it from you if you don't submit the assignment to me and click turned in. My goal was to make this a 15-minute video. I'm over by about a minute. If you ever need any help with anything, let me know. The best way to contact me is by email, and we can set up an appointment where I can help. Okay, that was our first video. I'm getting ready to do the next one. Bye.